Good morning and happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to At Home with Hayley. I am, of course, Hayley Andrews. Thank you for joining us today. Happy Friday to you all. Hopefully you all had a wonderful Easter. On this show, we talk about all things property and we introduce you to industry experts. We have two wonderful individuals today that have come together and created a superb one-stop shop for you, and I'm really looking forward to getting our guests on the show today. But before we get started, I can see some of you are coming through live. If you can just pop in the chat box that you can hear us loud and clear, that would be great. And so can everybody hear me? If somebody can pop in the chat box, that would be perfect. Yes, brilliant. That's fantastic. Okay, so numbers are coming through. We tend to have them join partway through anyway, so we're going to get started. Today's guest, I've known for a while, but only recently started working with them through our international program. But these are superb guests, and I'm super excited to introduce you to Harry and Donna. Are you guys there?
Hello.
Yes, hi, you're right.
Hello. I know that your slides have an introduction. So I'm going to ask you, I'm going to stop sharing slides and ask you guys to share your screen. I know that you have a presentation for our viewers today.
We do.
And I've had a sneak peek of the presentation as well, so you're in for a treat. But I'm going to ask you guys to introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about what you're going to be talking about today, and then get started. So over to you.
Brilliant. Thank you. Can you see our slides?
Yes. Perfect.
Yeah, perfect.
That's great. That's a good start
then. Okay, yeah. So thank you so much for having us on, Hayley. We really appreciate it. So we are the Your Space Property Group. So my name's Donna Chadwick, and I am one of the owners of Your Space.
And my name is Harry Childe, and I'm a property sourcer for Your Space.
So we wanted to do kind of a whistle-stop tour of what we do this morning for you. So we're going to start off with something that's really important to us, which is our mission statement. So this mission statement covers the whole group. It's written by our team who sign up to it. So Your Space Property Group aims for excellence across all of their services, delivering a high-quality, bespoke experience for each individual with people at the heart of the organisation. Our ways of working will challenge the common negative perception of property investing and developing by working with transparency and integrity. We aim to set a precedent that our standard should be the only standard when creating homes for people. So in terms of a bit about our background, which brought us to that mission statement, so I've done 15 years in supporting housing across the UK. And the four directors that you can see on the screen at the minute, so we've got my wife Katie, our business partner Sammy, and our business partner Paul, and we have a background in all sorts, really: retail, construction, supported housing. We've had property education spanning sort of 2-3 years. We started sourcing, we started a development company, and we'll tell you a bit about our journey. And then we've also got other skills as well. So Sammy used to be a personal trainer and also a life coach. So we all bring really different skills to the property group, which has stood us in good stead, really. We started in 2018 just as a property investment company, and we've grown over the last 4 years. Harry joined us in
2 years.
2 years ago now.
Yeah, 2 years.
So Harry's been through full property sourcing and is now one of our main full-time property sourcers. And if you do want to sort of interact with us or speak to us, come on board with us, Harry will be your point of contact. So to introduce you to our services, we have designed a turnkey package for our investors. Reasons why was because we started off as investors ourselves, and we found that we didn't have a sourcing agent that kind of met our standards, really. We couldn't find a builder, we couldn't find an interior designer, and at the time we were both in full-time national roles. So we really needed that power team around us. So we just thought, well, why don't we do it ourselves. So bit by bit, it didn't all happen at once, but bit by bit, we've designed our turnkey package, which we're extremely proud of. It's to an extremely high standard, and we'll show you some pictures of our accommodation as well, what we've done for clients a bit later on. And we're going to take you through bit by bit of how we can help you. Just to note, in terms of the turnkey package, you can take it as one full package, or you can pick bits out of it. It's completely bespoke to our clients. So, sourcing.
So with the sourcing, we've got the bespoke sourcing, which is basically you get us as a private sourcing client for yourself, and we will go out and find out whatever requirements you need, what the house, is it a buy to let, is it a HMO, anything that you like really, and we'll go through that process with you. And then we also have additional services for your clients, which is such as solicitors, we've got architects under our field, and we've also got surveyors, etc. We are based in the East Midlands, Derby, Nottinghamshire, which we'll go into that in more detail, and also based in Derby for our buy-to-lets, which I'll also go into.
Yeah.
So why Derby? People always say this. It's a question that we always get asked, and it's one of them why. Well, 6th most productive city in the UK, with the top 5 areas to invest. Several reasons why people, there's loads of people, there's loads of accommodation, but there's no housing for us. So it's one of them, why is the people here, but there's no housing? People are coming to invest. It's a great area. We've got the transport links, Birmingham, London, Sheffield, York. So 40 minutes from Birmingham, we've got 40 minutes from Sheffield, and only an hour and a half on the train to London, which is great for everyone really. The industries around us, Rolls-Royce, that brings in 17,000 works in there. We've got Bombardier and the Super Hospital. And really it just shows what industries we've got around us and how many people work there. So for all these workers, it's kind of, there's not enough houses. There's nowhere for them to stay. So people are realizing, well, actually, there's clientele for HMOs to make a buy-to-let, to do them fields where people can stay, even if it's for 4 nights a week. It really works well, and that's kind of why investors want to invest in Derby. We've got the demand, but then there's no supply, and that's really the big service we provide, I think.
Yeah, definitely. So I think Derbyshire's kind of known for its industry, like Harry said, with big companies like Rolls-Royce and Bombardier. Our super hospital is one of, I think it's 5 in the UK with 9,000 staff. We've also got the new Amazon depot that's opened. So that's opened up to, I think it's about 2,000 workers recently. We have the East Midlands Airport, which is 15 minutes away. We have the DHL warehouse there as well. And then, yeah, to top it off, at the minute, we're getting the HS2 network, so the high-speed rail network should be coming through Derby as well, which will not only produce jobs, but it'll enable people who maybe work in London to access Derby even quicker. In terms of tenant groups, when investors come into Derby, we personally as investors, we offer accommodation for professionals. However, some of our clients would like to offer accommodation for maybe students. So we have one of the biggest universities as well in Derby. There's thousands of students come through. So there's an awful lot of demand for housing, but there's just not the supply there at all. However, we have some incredible buildings that can be turned into, don't we? Absolutely beautiful buildings that can be turned into accommodation for people. And also to raise the standards as well. We're seeing a lot of high standard accommodation coming through in Derby, but at the minute it's definitely a hot spot.
Yeah,
we can
you could go on for quite a while.
Yeah. So just before we flick on to the next slide, just something else to tell you about Derby. So we're right next door to Nottingham. Again, incredible place to invest depending on what strategy you're doing. Some of Nottingham is actually Article 4. So to build things like HMOs, you have to go through planning no matter how big or small the HMO is. Derby isn't currently Article 4, despite it being next door. which in terms of investing right now in HMOs means that if Article 4 does come in, and I think we've got about 18 months notice for Article 4, if it ever does come in, it pushes the value of the HMOs that are already here up, because not many other people can then build them. So right now, great place to invest, where we physically live here. We are based here, although we cover the whole of the East Midlands. So I think that's our that's our.
It's kind of we could go on this for a long time, but as we've just said, and Donna and myself, we've got them industries, and we've got kind of that knowledge because we live here, and also we wouldn't invest ourselves here if it wasn't working. So we're quite an example, and we will always show our clients and people who are interested, look what we're producing.
Yeah,
our house is only down the road where you want to purchase a house. Surely this means it does work. So
it's a great area. So Derby, I'd say more apartments needed, HMO bedrooms and studios, which I can go on to later when I show you some examples of what we do. So Grimsby.
Yeah, so we've done a lot in Grimsby ourselves.
We have done a lot in Grimsby.
We've got a few projects, what's actually going on at the minute, and we've actually done a few buy-to-lets. Going into that side, it is a massive scheme for buy-to-lets. It's amazing. You can get the properties undervalued. You can get them for that 60, what you want them for, and it brings in that cash flow. It is a perfect place for buy-to-lets, and the reason is for this. There's a lot of families. There's a lot of people there. Again, there's workers, because you've got the fishing farms. You've got it's one of the biggest fishing industries going yet in the UK, I believe.
It is,
and the wind turbines, the offshores, there's a lot of work there, but again, there's not the housing. There's that many people, and people want to stay together. They like to rent on the same roads. They don't like to move around, so the accommodation isn't there. It's overgrowing, so that's why I believe it's a great place to invest for, even if you want to start up small and just do a few buy-to-lets, maybe a few houses, or like you said earlier, a few flats. I think that would work really well.
Yeah,
it's that kind of place where it's needing that housing.
It is, yeah. So Grimsby geographically is in northwest Lincolnshire. Huge, well, one of the biggest fishing industries, like Harry said, and they're currently spending millions just up the road in Cleethorpes on a new project to bring in more industry to the area. We do personally invest. This is where we started 4 years ago, me and my partner in Grimsby, doing our buy-to-lets. And what we found is that families, when we've been doing our research, they don't want to buy property in Grimsby, and they're quite happy to rent property. Like Harry says, they tend, if they're born in Grimsby, they tend to stay in Grimsby. Not a lot of people move away, and they want to be on the same street as their families. Quite often we're renting houses to maybe a family and their sister lives across the road, or their mum and dad live down the street. So it's quite a tight-knit community is Grimsby. But yeah, big rental area. Also, if anyone's ever interested in social housing, so it's quite a deprived area, and it definitely needs the money spending on it, which they're doing. But social housing and supported housing, again, are great strategies in Grimsby. So we have a lot of that within that geographical area. So like Harry said, great place for buy-to-lets if you want to start, great place for flat conversions as well. HMOs can work in Grimsby, but they don't really bring in the cash flow as well. Derby's much better for the HMO side of things.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a hit and miss kind of field. And I think when you're going into that kind of market, the HMOs, you need to be on more of the hit side than the miss. So, definitely. And also just to add in there, I was speaking to one of my clients the other day, and they're actually looking to do some new builds in Grimsby, and they've been looking more and more into it. And by the sounds of it, I think if any of you guys are into that building field or looking at new builds, it is a place where that's also needed. And if you're doing a block of flats, find the perfect land, because there is a lot of land around them areas that go up for sale. It is a lot cheaper, and I think that's possibly something you could look into, and what we could look into together. It's a good area. It's a great area.
So just really, Harry's now going to take you through the first part of the journey with your space if you were to become one of our turnkey clients.
Yes, so you're being introduced to me. I'll get you talking, basically I'll talk you through the turnkey service and the whole process. But the first thing would be, obviously, if you wanted to be a bespoke sourcing client and become on our bespoke sourcing list. So to get on this list, I'll first just put it in there because this is the biggest question at the end of all what I go on about. How much is it? So it's £350 plus VAT, but this will get you everything hopefully I get into. So it'll start off with the initial phone call, the Zoom, a bit like this, but I won't do a presentation. I'll just talk to you. You find out a bit about me, I find out a bit about you, and so forth. And that kind of helps us ease, and you kind of understand where I'm coming from, and I know you as a person. I think that works well. We'll then send out a pack and gather all your information. It'll have various forms, all the boring forms, what you need to read to know about us, which I've already discussed with you, but then it'll have a lot of information where it's requirements. Anything you want. I want a blue house, a red house, a small, everything small to big. It doesn't matter how silly it sounds, because we can meet in the middle. Even if some of them I say, look, this might not work, it's kind of gathering the bits that are important to you and the bits I can deliver. So yeah, I think it's kind of on them process. So then when you're happy and we go forward, we'll obviously send out the invoice and we go forward with that. And that's basically when I start my property search. And so then when we go on to looking at properties, I won't just go, right, I'm going on this property today and I'll send you pictures. Before that, I will actually do numbers, my due diligence, and I'll go into the deal by myself personally. And then when I think it's kind of looking like this could work for you as a client, I'll send the numbers over to you. And that's when you go, Harry, I'm really interested in this. This may work for me. That's when I'll actually go on the viewing on behalf of yourself. I'll take all the pictures, all the videos. And even if you said to me, would you be able to FaceTime me when you go around on this viewing at this time and date? And that kind of communication works really well with me. I love that interaction, and that anything goes down, and I'm really happy to do that. Mm-hmm. So then after that, we'll gather even more due diligence. We'll go around the roads, the sites, look if someone's had a dormer next door, see if there's extensions, gather it even more. And if we're happy and we go ahead, that's when I'll start negotiations for yourself. On the number side, what I said, I'll present you numbers. We might edit them numbers, and I might produce a figure to you, what's 10k over asking. The reason for that is I'll always present the worst case. The worst case refurb will be on that number sheet. Our rents, it will be worst case. It will be at that lower stage, because at the end of the day, we want our clients to be happy at the end, and we want you to go, Harry, this is amazing, but you actually gave me the wrong numbers because it all came out completely higher. And that's what I want to deliver for yourself, because if you're happy at it being really low, we want to see our clients more happy at the end of the day, don't we? And that's what we look for as a service, as the whole outcome. That's what we want to deliver for you.
Yeah, and I think, just to follow on from what you were saying, really, it's about stress testing the numbers. Yeah. So yes, it's worst case scenario, and it's something that we call stress testing. So at the minute in the UK, inflation's rising. Well, everything seems to be rising, to be honest with you. Yeah. But at the minute, we've already been stress testing our numbers far higher than what's actually happening in the UK at the minute. So deals are working at our high numbers. So like Harry said, if they're working at the worst case scenario, all percentages go up high numbers, then in reality, it'll definitely work at a lower rate, which is brilliant.
And it's just a bonus, really.
It is a bonus.
That bonus at the end, what makes us all work together.
Yeah,
I think
it works really well. And I think the reason as well that we do the bespoke, so if you go to a sourcing agent, you can be put on a list, and you kind of get deals sent to you as and when. The reason that we chose to just do bespoke sourcing is because, one, it's personal. Two, you can actually get to know your sourcing agent. You have a sourcing agent to yourself, and we're very big on relationship building. It's what our whole business is based on. And three, it ensures that we don't just build a relationship with our clients, we're building them externally with our direct to vendor properties, with our estate agents. If Harry negotiates a really good deal through either somebody who's selling a property direct to us or through an estate agent, and then just has to send it out on a list that maybe nobody wants it, reputationally, for Harry and for us, it's just not a good thing. We found it's quite a negative thing, and we just don't want to do that. So for us, that's the reason why we do offer bespoke sourcing. It's one-to-one, and far more effective.
Definitely. And then we have the additional support service. So when we've gone through this process and we go through that negotiations, and hopefully we've got the deal and you're happy and I'm happy and we're at that stage, then there will always be that discussion, right, we actually do offer an additional support service. And what many people don't know, we actually have an in-house architect, we've got the solicitor, the mortgage broker that we use, the surveyors, and of course, the Your Space Build team. That's all under one umbrella. That's our team, that's our networks, and that's what we have as providers. And what we can offer to you guys as clients, we say for £1,000, we can give you all of this. We can manage the whole process for you. It takes it all off your hands. You won't need to be speaking to the broker, the solicitor, the architect. It will be everything you want to know. I will deliver and I will tell you, and you can know yourself, but I will physically be managing the process for you, the whole purchase. And then obviously when the purchase is complete and we're successful on that, and when it's ready to go to the build team, that's when I'll introduce you to the build team side when I'm ready for pre-devs. And it's kind of taking all the worry, the hassle. If any of you've got full-time jobs, even a part-time job, handling even a small buy-to-let or flip, it is stressful at the start. I would say
it's a lot to navigate your way through sometimes, isn't it? Yeah. If you're either not used to the process or how things are done, it can be quite a challenge to navigate through. It can be quite a challenge sometimes when quick decisions need to be made. So for our support service, say you get your architect's drawings back, you would have to look at them and I suppose move things around yourself, whereas for our additional support service, we would be working alongside you to do that, and we would support you with that. I was conscious of time. So in terms of the build team, so all of our team work in the same office, and it's purely for ease for our clients. It's for clear communication. It's just for an effective working relationship. So Harry and our other sourcing agents, Sammy, sit with our build team. So like Harry said, we've got everybody in-house, so down to your building inspectors, your structural engineers, your quantity surveyors. Our build team, we don't have a builder that also doubles up as a project manager. We employ project managers, construction managers, and a whole pre-development team so that your project is completely planned out before anybody gets on site. The great thing about having everything in-house is that when you get your figures off Harry, we will have included all our figures in that as well. So you're getting an extremely accurate cost from your sourcing agent, really. Yeah,
worst case again, as I know I mentioned, that refurb, it will be estimate, but we will be adding little bits in there to make sure we've got wiggle room. If anything comes back on them surveys that is slightly major, we've actually allowed that extra.
We've got that contingency.
We've got that contingency, and I think that's what it's about.
It works well. And then to finish it off, we also have an in-house interior design team. So they work with the build team from day one. So Harry will source the property. If somebody would like the interior design, then the interior designers meet with the clients or have a conversation with the clients, get their ideas. And from day one, really, as soon as that property completes, the interior design team are on site. They're looking at the architect's drawings. They're ensuring that the build team have everything where they want it for the end product. So we always start with the end in mind. We start with the client group that, or the tenant that would be going into the property, and the end product that you would like. But the whole team are involved from day one. What we call our final touches, we have an in-house cleaning service. So they do what we call sparkle cleans. Now, these are when your house is finished and done, and they give it the most incredible clean. Amazing. It's incredible.
It looks amazing.
And then after that, if it's a service that you wanted for your tenants, we can go in bi-weekly and clean sort of the communal areas, the halls, and if your tenants wanted their personal rooms cleaning, that can be sorted as well. The other good thing about that, especially if you've gone through our turnkey package, is you know your space, you know us, and it's another pair of eyes and ears within your property.
Yeah.
So you've got a cleaner that you can trust going in every other week, and you know, just kind of keeping an extra eye on that property as well as your letting agent. The interior designers will dress your property, so they'll put all your furniture up for you, because they'll have purchased it. They'll get all that in. It's all stored up until it's ready to go in, and then if you wanted to, they could stage your property. So this is where
the marketing side.
It's the marketing side, isn't it? So they dress it. Well, I'll show you some pictures in the most beautiful way, and we've also got in-house photography and videography for your marketing. So whether you're building a brand, whether you've got investors yourselves, whether it's just for kind of social media, we can offer you the photography and the videography as well. We found with ours, we've used we use our in-house service, and the property is let within a couple of days, through the service that we offer. So I just wanted to show you some of our own properties. This is a personal one of ours. So this is our high spec. This is 5 studios and 1 HMO room with a communal area. So this is our full turnkey package. So our interior designers have done it, and our build team have done it. And this was also purchased direct to vendor under market value. And we're just going through remortgage now. This cash flows at about cash flows at £2,500 gross. It comes in at about 4,100 a month. And this was an all money out deal for us. It worked incredibly well, did this one. This is the same property. So our studios, they rent out anywhere between £700 to £800 a room. And our HMO rooms are anywhere between £550 and £650 a room, in this particular property, in this particular area. Our standard specification, which I would still argue is still above average.
Yeah, it definitely is.
So this was actually a client's property. So in terms of his budget, he wanted to do a standard spec, but he took the build team in the interiors package and our photography. He actually, again, let this out within a couple of days. And it's bringing him, he went for something like, I think it was £800 a room. He's getting £1,000 a room. There's 8 rooms in this property, so his cash, gross, he's coming in with £8,000 a month, and he got nearly £200,000 higher in his back end valuation than what he was expecting. So this is the same property as well. I don't know if there is any questions, but we're more than happy to answer them. I know we're a bit pushed for time, and as well we've got. Oh no, we haven't. Our slide didn't work. Oh, well, we can. I know Hayley's got our details if anybody does want to get in contact. Yeah. Oh, there we go. So there's Harry's email. We're on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook if anyone wants to check out any more work that we've done.
So if you want to get in touch by any means, I'm happy to speak, and I know we're all happy to speak on any platform. So yeah, have a look what we do, and yeah.
Brilliant. That's great. Thank you so much. So at this moment in time, we don't have any questions in the chat box, but I'm going to ask a few on behalf of them, if that's okay with you. Of course, we have quite a large, at Your Freedom Empire, we have quite a large international audience. And so while they're looking for a bespoke service, they also obviously looking for the hand holding and things like that. So they get the education and the support through us and get introduced to good, solid sourcing agents like yourself that, you know, we've checked you out. We've watched you for 12 months. I've met Harry and Donna, Sammy in person. Yeah. You're good people, which is why you're here.
You've had us under a microscope. You've watched us.
And I do that, obviously. I know you guys as well through the other training organisation that you went through, and of course I've met you in person, and I've watched you for quite a while. So I don't just introduce anybody. I make sure I'm introducing good, solid people. So the very fact that you're here means that you already tick those boxes.
We appreciate that. Thank you.
And I think the majority of the people that I've actually introduced you to recently have been UK, because we've opened the doors back up post COVID, and obviously that's the mentorships that have been coming through. But a lot of our listeners and viewers on YouTube and through our social media, etc., are internationals. So in terms of dealing with internationals, is it the same kind of delivery process? Is there more hand-holding, do you find, or how would you approach working with the internationals?
So we do have international students, don't we?
We do, and honestly, it's kind of working around that. So yesterday, it's kind of the time difference. That's the only thing that's different, and obviously, and you kind of work around that for them whenever's easiest. If it's early afternoon, if it means us having a bit of a chat at 7 o'clock morning my time or 6:30. It's one of them. It just make it work really. And then in the afternoon when they get back up, it's kind of the only thing is the time. Everything else is the exact same. The process.
I think we found, to be honest with you, even in terms of, like you said, hand holding. So we're obviously middle of the country. We find that people need support who live in London a couple of on the train an hour and a half. If people are working full time, they might need that additional support. So for us, it isn't necessarily about where you are in the world. It's just more about your personal needs. And we have some international clients that have invested for a long time, and actually they actually have their own power team.
Amazing,
and that's fine. And we have somebody who's quite new, and she's taken all the support, and that's absolutely fine. But that's no different to, I suppose, people in different parts of the UK. So like Harry said, it's just more early mornings and late nights. If the time,
I think that's all it is.
Well, so I mean, I tend to spend, because we are a lot with Hong Kong, Singapore, Australia, New Zealand. I tend to spend a lot of time on WhatsApp.
I live on WhatsApp. That's all. Donna goes, you're right. Yeah, I'm just living on my WhatsApp. I don't do emails. I'm on
my head doesn't lift up naturally anymore. I have to force it like this. Brilliant. So there's a good question in the chat box about sweet spots in terms of what's your average kind of deal size? Are we talking millions of pounds, perhaps not in Grimsby? Or are we talking, but definitely Derby or Nottingham could reach those types of figures. But what's kind of your average project
I'd
size?
say our average is your 6 to 8 bed HMO in Derby. I'd say that's what 90% of people want in Derby, and so you're looking at what to purchase decent property.
At the moment, we're looking at realistically 160 to 180, and if the numbers work and you're getting them 5 studios, you can purchase the property for 210. But it's all about negotiations. At the moment, we went 25k over asking, and because it was on market, and sometimes deals do come up on market and they do work. We go to have a look, and it went, I think it was 48k over asking. So at the moment we're in that market. So as Donna said earlier, when we get direct vendors, this kind of what works well for us, and I think that makes our bespoke clients realize we do get the direct vendors, and if that's off market, it works even better. The negotiations aren't there really. So
I definitely say the strategy that a lot of our investors use within Derby, and what we personally use, is your 6 bed HMOs, and then coming to the end of the build once it is a 6 bed, moving it to 8 people to get the back end valuations. We do have some clients. So I've got a client at the minute, and we've just put in, we've sourced a £1.4 million deal to them. So we do get your your sort of really big properties as well. We're just quoting a 75-bed HMO, which
is ridiculous.
I still question whether I'd want to live in a 75-bed HMO, but that's a personal preference.
I think it's basically a hotel at this point.
It is, yeah. So yeah, I'd say our sweet spot's probably 6 to 8 bed HMOs in Derby, up to about 200 grand usually.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And I noticed you talked quite a bit about, of course, buy-to-let, standard buy-to-lets, family homes working very well in Grimsby. I guess that's because of the lower purchase price, so your yields are slightly higher, and it kind of works from, you know, a cash flow perspective still, but you lose that capital growth. And then moving through to Derby and Nottingham, of course, you're more of your second kind of steppers and your bigger properties, higher value, and perhaps a slightly lower yield, but you get the capital growth as well.
And again, that's, I suppose that it's a very personal thing, isn't it, investing in property? So it really is to what people want. So we do have some people that want cash flow, and Derby's amazing for that in terms of the HMOs, but we also have people that we're building apartments for in the city centre. Like you said, a little bit lower in terms of cash flow, but capital growth would be immense. It would be immense.
And your part of the world has been one of the sweet spots as well in terms of highest growth over the last 2 years, hasn't it?
It has, Derby really has shot up, and now we're in like the top 5 places for 2022 to invest, which
we're still shocked at it. We're still
it's really, really good to be having these conversations.
3 years ago, I don't think we'd be having this conversation, but the pandemic's done something to Derby. But
well, I think it all comes down to supply and demand, doesn't it? And as you said, you know, there's a lot of industry that are local, but and people are about being local, and they want to stay with their family and around their friends and where they grew up. And there's just a sheer lack of new listings coming to the market, and I think you've got that kind of, you know, that flip between supply and demand, and at this moment in time there isn't enough properties and the population is still growing year on year. So you know it's that it's always going to keep, of course, rental high, but of course you are buying at a more premium price because you are paying over asking price, because instead of 2 or 3 people placing an offer on a property, you have 15-20 people all competing for the same investment. So
but I think, sorry, just before we go, the shift that we've actually seen from COVID is that in terms of our HMOs, people aren't wanting to share a lot of things anymore. So the studios are working much better, which brings in your higher rental income. But what we're also seeing is there's a massive shift of people who can't get on the property market because it is so high. So we've got, like we said, huge uni, and students don't want to be moving back with mum and dad. So actually the HMO market bridges that gap. It allows people independence. All they have to bring is a bag of clothes, because we provide everything else, we pay all their bills. And it's a really good independent step to the next step, which is like your own apartment or your own property. So there's definitely, it really does bridge a gap in for people.
Well, there's definitely a demand there. You know, and many people will say to me, especially internationals that are new coming through, why would anybody want to live in a HMO when in actual fact it is a preferred way of living? And the profile isn't just students. You know, you get professional tenants, you get blue collar workers, you get you get people that are just there for 6 months and perhaps move on to the next town because they're going through training with hospitals and things like that. So the tenant profile for HMOs is not just about students, and I think that's kind of becoming more and more apparent. Of course, it does come down to affordability, but it comes down to peace of mind with with inflation and higher energy prices and things like that. People want that certainty, and also it comes down to the isolation. I think also while COVID had a negative effect on HMOs, especially in some areas, and people not wanting to share, a bathroom or whatever, and wanting their kind of, their self-contained space. In a positive way, actually, some people that were renting on their own in isolation for such a long period of time wanted to be part of a community and such. I think whatever people left, another new audience came. So it's still work working very well. So you kind of mentioned, and I'm not going to take up too much more of your time because I'm going to talk about markets and in my update in a minute. But you mentioned that you do a lot of studios because of this kind of trend and change in people's behaviour and on what they're looking for within your target market. Have you seen any kind of negative effect on a studio in terms of council tax per room? How are you getting around that? Because I know that you guys would be.
I know, yeah. So in some parts of the UK, people get charged council tax per studio. In Derby, whether it's because of the need, I don't know, but we stick to the HMO guidance. We always offer, you've got a studio, but there's always a communal space as well. There's always a communal kitchen. We provide communal workspaces now because of a lot of people working from home. So it still comes under our HMO regulations within Derby. So touch wood, we haven't had a problem with council taxes. And in all honesty, we get that much rent for the properties, even if we did. It'd be absolutely fine. We haven't had any challenges. Obviously, we've took the hit in cash flow, but energy prices rising, we get that much for our propities that
we've got a lot of leeway in our properties.
It'd be fine, the change is there. But no, touch wood, we haven't, and neither.
Well, I think because of the fact that you keep one room and you keep a communal space and perhaps a communal bathroom as well, it makes it not self-contained, really, doesn't it? I mean, although it is, and it gives that feel. It's almost
option.
There's
go outside of the box.
And there's a way to you put 2 hobs in as opposed to 4 in the kitchen. There's a way that you stay within the regulations of a HMO, and to be honest with you, I think they know that there's a need for it. I really do. So touch wood, Derby hasn't had that. We haven't had that challenge.
Brilliant. Yet. No, that's great. That's fantastic. Okay, fantastic. So I'm going to say thank you. It was a pleasure, as always, to speak to you. You always give me loads of energy, and it's always nice to see what you're doing. And I like to see pictures. I'm a very visual person as well. So thank you for your presentation. It was fantastic. Anybody that wants to reach out to these guys, you can reach out to them direct. They did share their slides, but we can pop that in the, they shared their contacts, we can pop those in the description on the YouTube channel.
Thank you.
But I'm just going to say thank you ever so much. I'm going to love and leave you, but those of you that are online, please stay, because we are going to go through a market update now, and then I'm going to run you through any events that we have coming up. So thank you, Donna and Harry.
See you later.
Brilliant.
Bye.
Enjoy the rest of your Friday. Take care.
Bye. Bye.
Right, so what we're going to do now is we are going to jump onto my market update. So I'm going to jump off camera and get started. After the market update, we will take questions. So if you have any general questions, anything at all, it doesn't matter, as long as it's property related, I might add. But we'll go through the market update. I'll run you through some events that we've got, and then we'll take questions. So where are we at with the market? Aren't things crazy at this moment in time? Exciting though as well. Right. So there's clear change or clear indications that inflation is starting to adversely affect economic activity. The UK retail sales data for March showed volumes dropped by much more than the expected 1.4%. Growth in gross domestic products slowed down just 0.1% in February from 0.8% a month earlier. This is a start and a clear sign of change in people's spending behaviour, and it all has a knock-on effect. Because it comes down to affordability, lending capability, confidence and security, and with inflation outstripping wages and soaring energy prices, people are left with less money in their pockets, basically, and some none at all, and having to make difficult decisions to either heat their homes or eat, which is not the world any of us really want to live in. As we've said many times before, tough times are definitely ahead. So the Bank of England yesterday raised their interest rates to 1%, so it went up a further 0.25%. So that's 3 interest rate rises this year, the back end of last year and into this year. It's expected to raise further this year as well to curb inflation. It's almost like a short-term knock for a long-term gain approach. Interest rates do need to rise to curb inflation, and this is the route that they are going down. It's likely to raise, or there's talk of it being increase to that 3%. So whether that will happen, I'm not entirely sure, but that's what experts are saying at this moment in time. So of course this is going to just make people's affordability less. Of course their outgoings are going to be higher, etc., but it is needed as well, and I do understand why they're doing it. So Jason Tebb, CEO at On the Market. Many of you have probably heard of that portal. If you haven't, go and have a look. It's an up and coming. It's been up and coming for the last 5 years, and it's definitely now a contender for Rightmove and Zoopla. So Jason Tebb said net borrowing of mortgage debt by individuals rose in March, while mortgage approvals, an indicator of future borrowing, were little changed on the previous months and remain above the 12-month pre-pandemic average. This suggests that positive buyers' sentiment is holding despite several headwinds, such as what we've just spoken about, including rising costs of living and the potential for further interest rate rises. This confidence is fueling the housing market. Currently, the number of properties newly listed for sale is slowly increasing, which was what was needed, and that's increasing the supply. And demand economics suggests that if this continues, price growth will moderate. But for now, there are people who need to move and are determined to get on with that regardless of what's going on elsewhere. So still very competitive marketplace right now. And this is really coming down to the sheer lack of supply despite new listings improving. So the UK property still defies all odds. Who'd have guessed? So properties are selling faster than ever and at above, at asking price or above. Rightmove are claiming in its April's house price index, the portal revealed that the price of properties or property coming to the market hit record highs for a third consecutive month at the start of April. Rightmove's house price index showed asking prices hit just over £360,000 last month, and that's up 1.6% on a monthly basis and 9.9% on an annual basis. All regions and all market sectors reached new record price highs for only the second time since 2007. Average prices are up by more than £19,000 over 3 months, and that's what Rightmove are reporting. It also reports, or its report also noted that while the pace of prices rising is definitely slowing down, and this is something we've been talking about over the last couple of months, with monthly rises of 2.3% and 1.7% in the previous 2 months to April. High demand and for limited stock could still make a sustained price fall unlikely. The report showed that the average time to sell was 67 days this time last year in 2019. Sorry, not this time last year. We're in 22 now, aren't we? So in 2019, it was 67 days with the average time to sell. Compared to now, it's standing at a record of 33 days before a property is marked as sold subject to contract on Rightmove. So much, much quicker now. This is the fastest ever speed of sale, and it means that 53% of properties that sell are now selling at or over their final advertised asking price, the highest percentage Rightmove has ever measured, so ever been recorded. Overall, it shows that properties achieving 98.9%, which is phenomenal, 98.9% of the final advertised asking price on average, which is also the highest percentage since its records began. With house prices continuing to rise despite the early signs of slowing down, the predictions and fears of the UK being on the brink of a recession into the autumn months of this year, inflation still soaring, and further interest rate rises imminent, predicted to rise up to, as we said earlier, that 3% this year. We as investors have to make sure we are efficient as possible. If we are still buying at a premium price, make sure you're not paying too much stamp duty on your investment purchases. So this is a common thing that we are seeing more and more over the last couple of years. And I think that it's something that we should cover. Cornerstone. So we thought it'd be a good idea for us to focus on, a report that Inside Conveyancing produced recently, and Cornerstone Tax providing their insight into the top 10 stamp duty reliefs. So grab your pen. Many of you may have heard of a few of them, but regardless, grab a pen and paper, make a list so that you can add these to your list of questions to ask your tax advisor and accountant and solicitor. We want to make sure that you're not overpaying. So in at number 1, and you don't need to write everything down that I'm saying, just the actual point itself. And so the 10 different ways that you can make sure that you're not paying too much stamp duty on your transactions. So number 1 was multiple dwellings relief for developers. This was introduced in 2011. Mainly to correct what was seen to be a disadvantage for investors with the large stamp duty bills when purchasing multiple smaller properties as part of one transaction. In order to counter this and encourage investment in the property sector, multiple dwellings relief was introduced, averaging out the price of all properties acquired in a single transaction in order to calculate the stamp duty liability on each one based on an average, or that average. If you are an investor or developer purchasing multiple properties in the same transaction, the availability of multiple dwellings relief should be one of your key considerations for your accountant, tax advisor, and solicitor. So always ask the question. In at number 2 is multiple dwellings relief again, but from a residential point of view. So whether it's property or whether it's a property with a self-contained annex for your elderly parents or even older children, or a larger property with separate properties or property in the grounds, these types of purchases may also be subject to multiple dwellings relief. So also ask that question. In at number 3 is sub-sale relief, and this is for investors. So sub-sale relief, it's had a bad image in recent years. So having been the subject of much of anti-avoidance, and this has distracted it really from its genuine or intended purpose. So investors looking to flip property, usually land or derelict properties for development purposes, are perfectly eligible to claim this relief in the appropriate circumstances, which could see them or you paying 0 stamp duty land tax on your part in the transaction. So always ask the question. If you're not sure if it applies, ask your accountant, ask your tax advisor, does sub-sale relief apply to me and this transaction? In at number 4 is traders relief. So buying from the representative of an estate. So when dealing with a property which has been lived in by the deceased and is being purchased from the representatives of their estate, there is 100% relief available to property traders on the stamp duty land tax that would otherwise fall due. For the purpose of this relief, and any other relevant reliefs in this list, it is strictly defined by term, and you and your advisor should always make sure and make absolute certain you fall into this category before claiming this or any other relevant relief, as well as confirming that the seller also qualifies for this relief or is qualifying for these purposes. So a little more tricky with this one, but definitely worth running it past your tax advisor under these circumstances and understanding if it applies to you or not and your seller. So in at number 5 then is traders relief. So this is chain break relief. Little less common, but definitely something you need to be aware of. If you are, so if a property trader steps in to restore a property chain, which has been broken, 100% relief of stamp duty may be available to that trader. The qualifying status of the seller must also be established in order to take advantage of this. So again, ask. In at number 6 is traders relief part exchanged properties. So slightly different. So where a property trader purchases a part exchange property from a seller who is buying a new home from a house builder, 100% relief on stamp duty may be available. This may be applicable whether your client is the house builder in question or a property trader, but you must satisfy yourself that the seller is qualifying for the purpose of claiming this relief. In at number 7 is another traders relief, but this is employment relocation. Okay, so where an employer is relocating for the purpose of their job, and their employee, and their employer is purchasing their home as part of that move, 100% relief on the stamp duty land tax is available and can apply to either the employee themselves, the employer themselves, get that right way around, or to a qualifying property trader acquiring the property. So once again, the qualifying nature of the seller must be established to take advantage of this relief, but again, it's definitely worth asking. So anti-avoidance then, so transfer between partnership and connected persons. So this isn't actually, so it's not actually a relief per se, but merely a feature of anti-avoidance provisions which serves in the appropriate circumstances to mitigate stamp duty liability in its entirety. So where a property transfer takes place, either to or from a partnership involving connected persons, stamp duty land tax liability is 0. So one example is of this. So one example is the transfer of the commercial premises of a company into the pension scheme of the company itself. So many such transfers are made, and in many cases, legal advisors have missed that these transactions qualify as 0 stamp duty transfers. So again, always ask the question, always speak to your tax advisor. It's very, very, very important. So in at number 9 then, quite popular at this moment in time. So in at number 9, as charity, so this one's actually charity relief. So as the assisted living sector is continuing to grow, charity relief is becoming more relevant to the property market, where a qualifying charity is purchasing a property or a purchase is being made to hold on trust for a charity. The acquisition is 100% exempt from stamp duty land tax. And then finally, our number 10 is housing association relief. So again, very, very popular strategy right now. So similar to point 9, registered and qualifying housing associations also benefit from 100% exemption on stamp duty land tax for their acquisitions. This is especially important As with current housing crisis, the kinds of savings this could result in will mean housing associations having more capital available to invest in acquiring more properties, significantly impacting their ability to provide housing to those who need it most. So there's your 10, and this is just 10. In total, there are 49 different reliefs, exceptions, exemptions, which apply to stamp duty, land tax. The list of, so the 10 listed are just the most commonly applicable, and therefore the ones most to be aware of. So in reality, property lawyers are not tax advisors. Always check with your tax advisor to determine you are paying the right amount due, because while you can claim, no matter what they have within their disclaimers and their terms of business with you, what you signed with them and your contract, in the event of tax relief being missed, you can find yourself thousands of pounds out of pocket. So just get it right first time, and always run it past your tax advisor, your accountant first, and your solicitor, and make sure everybody is singing from the same hymn sheet, and what's available to you in terms of relief, you are actually taking advantage of that. It gives you an advantage, of course, over competition if they're not aware of this or they don't have the right teams. And it means that gives you that competitive edge as well. If you're aware of this up front before you actually purchase, you can build it into your negotiation, giving you, as I said, that extra wriggle room to make the deals work for you. But always check. So these are just common ways to make, money. Or to keep it in your pocket. We make sure, so we thought it'd be a good idea, because everything is going up, still inflation is still rising. We wanted to look at, ways to keep money in your pocket. So what else really can we do? So we can make sure our properties are energy efficient. We can, of which, is important to us right now as landlords, of course, with the new grading coming in for the energy performance as well, is something that we're having to look at. But also with energy prices rising the way they have, I suspect continue to do, we need to make sure that we're as energy efficient as possible. We can also run incentive property account plans for our tenants. So this is something, that was an idea that I had, and appears to be working really well. It's fairly new, but where tenants get refunded what they don't use. So this will reduce their rent and put money back in their pockets. So for example, we are trialling an incentive plan for our HMO tenants. How this will work is, or how it works is, we agree and set the fair usage policy, which is agreed with them, and then an incentive on that month by month, where if they do not exceed that amount, then it will be credited to a house account and refunded back to them on a quarterly basis. We take regular meter readings and things like that. So this will hopefully incentivize them to be more diligent with excessive misuse of energy, when the money that they don't spend is effectively reducing their rent and putting money back into their pockets. It's a win-win situation. It's promoting and rewarding good behaviour. Of course, our running costs are lower as well, and the tenants are happy because it means money back in their pockets. So I'll let you know how that kind of goes. It appears to be working very well at this moment in time. We will see. But it's about being creative, isn't it? Another way as well, another thing that we've been doing recently is on my buy-to-lets I've not really, so this is just my standard buy-to-let, so let out to a family or a couple, etc. I've not really increased the rents for the last 5 years, as I'm happy with the cash flow. I've got good solid tenants, and I'm happy with the margins that I'm achieving. But I recently did a quick market check or comparable on and a sanitary check on a portfolio that I have, a buy-to-let portfolio in one particular area, and I was quite shocked actually to see that I was massively underpriced for the area and the properties in question, and I could or should be charging at least £200 more per calendar month to bring me in line with the current market rent and other offerings within that area. And so time flies, you know, last 5 years has gone by in a blink of an eye. And, you know, as my buy-to-let portfolio is more kind of just bread and butter and, you know, lower turnover of tenants, income, not huge amounts of income from the buy-to-let portfolio and in terms of cash flow, it's not really a part of my portfolio that I've focused on in terms of a monitoring basis. We normally focus more on serviced accommodation, HMOs, commercials, car parks and things like that. So I was actually quite surprised. So go back, if you've got your portfolio, go back, have a look, make sure that you're charging what you should be charging, and do it through the correct process, serve notice of a rent increase if you need to do so, but it's also a peace of mind as well. But then I think you'd be surprised, there's the rents have increased dramatically recently. They are still rising. Again, it's coming down to the lack of supply. A lot of landlords moving out of the industry as well. I'll talk about a little bit later on, but it's definitely worth checking that what your tenants are paying is what the market commands. You might be surprised. So also check your mortgage products as well. You know, while interest rates are rising, lending is still very cheap and available. So check your mortgage products, speak to a financial finance broker, sorry, make sure that you are on the most beneficial product and you're not overpaying. Again, you may be surprised, and it may be that, you know, you signed up for something 3 years ago or 5 years ago, for example, or even 2 years ago, and actually right now there's a better product available for you. So just check. It's the idea is to actually check, make sure that we are as efficient as possible. We do have the best products. We are charging the right rent. You know, we are running incentive programs to promote good behavior, etc. So it's about being creative and making sure that we're ticking all of the boxes. We're doing everything we possibly can to keep our money in our pockets. Keep up to date with your maintenance as well, your small maintenance issues. I see this a lot with landlords. I do own a management company and lettings agency. So when you are looking at, landlords, they tend to let little issues kind of say, well, it's not really a big issue, it's not major, I'll leave it for now, and we'll address it another month. But actually small issues can turn into big issues and big money. So I would say to you, keep on top of your minor maintenance issues, keep your properties keep your properties in good order. The tenants tend to stay longer, there's less complaints, there's less issues, and you're not paying huge bills. You know, a seal around a shower tray left unattended will cause the ceiling to come through in the living room, for example. So you do need to stay on top of these things. These smaller issues fixed in a timely manner will actually stop big issues arising. Make sure where and if you can, you make money. This is a business at the end of the day. Remember, cash is king. So never leave yourself short. Always have your war chest. Now is the time to monitor your expenses and ask questions and review your business and make sure it's running as efficiently as it possibly can. Now is the time to be creative, find win-win situations and solve problems. If you can solve problems, you can make money, and you will make money. So these are just a few points, a few ways to improve your bottom line. As I said, get creative. Rents are rising, demand is growing, yet supply of private rental sector is actually dwindling and reducing. Many landlords have thrown in the towel and decided to sell, and it makes sense. Why not sell at the height of the market, get out, cash in, and invest somewhere else or invest in something else? And that's very much, the percentage of landlords that have left tends to be more of your accidental landlords, and smaller portfolio holders have cashed in and decided that enough is enough. The government over the last 5 years have very much gone in the way of leaning towards the tenant, and it's not pro landlord anymore. It's almost pro tenant. So I can see why lots of people, and then with the energy prices and the EPC and the change of contracts in Scotland, Wales, etc., it's all getting a bit too much for our smaller landlords, and they've decided to cash in. This has had the opposite effect, because of course now rents will rise because the demand is still there, but supply is falling from a rental perspective. So something will need to be done, I think, and it wouldn't surprise me if the government don't step in again. So that's my kind of update for now. I'll leave it on a positive note. We are a business at the end of the day. You want to make money. While we want to obviously serve our tenants, create good accommodation and provide good quality stock to the housing market, we're a business and we need to make money. So make sure you are, and don't feel guilty about that in any shape or form. So I am going to go on to questions. I've noticed something quickly pop up, and I'm going to, so I think it was Wayne, he asked about what was number 8 on the tax relief, the stamp duty tax relief. So number 8 was, let me find it here, anti-avoidance. So transfer between partnerships and connected persons. So that, speak to your tax advisor, they'll be able to, I'm not a tax specialist, I'm merely calling out a list that Cornerstone tax providers publish through Inside Conveyancing. So but it's definitely worth taking a note of that full list and speaking to your tax advisor to make sure that you're not overpaying. Okay, so I don't see any questions coming through, so I'm going to jump straight. Hopefully you enjoyed that. I'm going to jump straight onto our events. So we have the wonderful, the one and only Mr. John Howard with us on the 14th and 15th of May. So this is for those of you that have perhaps done a couple of deals, you want to move into commercial, you want to do development, and you want to expand your network and the people that you have around you. John is doing a fully comprehensive advanced property developing and investing 2-day. And this is actually for you, our listeners, our students, at our training facility in Dudley. You can do it live in person or virtual for those of you that are international. If you are in the UK, I'd encourage you to come live in person. Tickets are still available for this event. It is on the 14th and 15th of May. It is 2 full days. You do get access to John. John is delivering the training himself. He is the main angel on Property Elevator. He is the joint venture partner and owner of Property Graduate. He's got 4 decades in the industry experience. He is just a good all-round guy. What John doesn't know about developing isn't worth knowing. So it's a jam-packed 2 days. You also get to obviously access to him and his joint venture fund as well. So there are, of course, options for you to be able to fund deals through the training, and him and his company. And also you get his 4 property related books, and he will sign them for you as well. So superb event, and we've had excellent feedback. You can check out feedback on these events that we've done in the past as well with John on our YouTube channel. So if you wanted to go and have a look at what other people are saying, but if you are looking to move into the world of commercial or development in any shape or form, this is for you. And then, of course, we have our success convention as well. So I'm just going to move my head so that you can get the how do I do that? Put it up. There we go. So we have our Property Success Convention. This is free to attend. It is, again, live, in person or virtual. Whether you're just starting out or you're looking to excel your property journey or get into a positive network, have access to us and our teams. This is a jam-packed 2 days full of property training, and so it's not basic in any shape or form. The training that we deliver is what most people would charge you for. We will introduce you to mentorship programs, but there's no pressure sale or anything like that. It is very much there is no asking for credit cards on the day or none of that nonsense. In fact, we don't sign you up on the day, even if you are interested to move forward. We teach you for 2 days. We give you good, solid information, good market information, market cycles. We introduce you to some of our team. We introduce you to some of our further training if you want to move forward. But you get 2 full days of content, and we get phenomenal feedback from this, and we thoroughly enjoy doing it. We're on the 28th and the 29th of May. You can do that live at our training facility, which is a building that I converted myself alongside with my husband and my team. Or you could do it virtually if you are international and you'd like to join. You can scan the QR code on the screen now, and that will take you through to the sign up page. And we look forward to seeing you there. And then, of course, I'm actually in the studio next week recording the next property question time. And any of the episodes that I have done that you've missed on Sky, we do have on our YouTube channel as well. So you'll be able to watch the replay. It's under property question time. There are lots of industry experts that I sit down on the panel with. John Howard is one of the guys that I do quite a lot of the shows with as well. So there's a lot of really good information, a lot of what we're actually doing, and questions from the audience as well, which is great. So you get an insight of different industry experts, different fields within that industry as well. So you get a really good overall broad view, and it's great TV. So if you haven't watched it already, tune in on Sky 191 on a Tuesday and Thursday, between 8 and 9, or go and watch the replays on our YouTube channel, which is Your Freedom Empire. So we are still doing these calls, and I know I keep saying I'm going to put them off, but they are so popular. So and you guys get a lot out of it. So if you would like to book a consultation call with myself or one of the YFE team, doesn't have to be me. You can either, this is a 30-minute, no obligation, no sales pitch, nothing like that. If you're in the industry, you're struggling with something, or you want to talk to someone, or perhaps you do want to talk to us about training or mentorships or mastermind programs, how you can get involved with Your Freedom Empire, you can book a call through our website or through the Education Hub with the drop-down menu on the option menu bar. Or you can actually scan the QR code on screen now and book a call into the diary from there. If you're, I mean, live numbers are quite low today, but we actually get quite a lot of people that watch the replay on YouTube, and also goes out to everybody that's registered. So everybody gets the replay, but not everybody can always attend live. So if you do have a question and you would like to ask us, but you're not able to attend, please do send your questions through to admin@yourfreedomempire.co.uk, and we'll always prioritise live questions, but we can answer the questions for you and read them out also. But I'm going to say thank you so much. Great session from Harry and Donna this morning. Hopefully you enjoyed the session. If we don't have any questions, I'm going to love you and leave you. Wish you an awesome month. Hopefully you make it a productive month as well. We would love to hear all about it, so let us know as well. But have an awesome Friday, an excellent weekend, and I will see you again for the next At Home with Hayley, which is, I believe, the 3rd of June. So I'll be a year older then as well. The grey is definitely creeping in. For those of you that are on our alumni support group, that is on the 20th of May. And of course, we have our John Howard event on the 14th and the 15th, and our Property Success Convention coming up as well this month. But have a great week, guys, a great month. I'll see you all on the 3rd, and make it happen. Goodbye for now.